The Eastern Pavilion Banqueting Hall, comprising 2 beautifully decorated modern guest suites with seating capacity for up to 1,100 guests. An ideal choice for engagements, weddings, Mendi parties, exhibitions and seminars. Supported by the latest sound and video technology, air-conditioned and free Wi-Fi. Contact us today and see how we can make your vision a reality. The Eastern Pavilion Banqueting Hall, located on Featherstall Road South, Oldham. A perfect choice for your perfect day.
Welcome to UK24 TV and Ramzan Kareem, and I hope all of you are having a blessed month. We are in the second Ashara of Ramzan Sharif, and Alhamdulillah, for those of you that are fasting, from the people that are telling me we're actually enjoying the fast, and for many young people who are fasting for the first time, I hope you're having a wonderful blessed time, a time to revitalize the spirit. It's not just about your bellies, it's about revitalizing the whole body. And I know many of you yesterday were watching the program where Asif actually came along and told us about the fact that he is continuing to fast and go to the gym. He's changed his routine, but he finds that he is a lot more better for it. So I hope all of you are having a wonderful, blessed month. Now, of course, we're still only a few days away from the great Brexit, the actual vote in terms of, not the Brexit vote, but the Brexit issue in terms of European parliamentarian elections, and that will be on Thursday. Many of you who've been watching this program, many other programs, will know that the debate has moved full circle, and probably again and again, as to why we're in this situation where we are still talking about Brexit. Not often people still referring to it not as the European elections but the Brexit elections. So what's it all about? So I thought today, let's not speak to councillors, let's speak to 2 individuals, and 2 individuals from 2 separate parties this time. So this is the first, let's see how it works. Hopefully we're not going to see things flying across the room but I'm sure my 2 brothers are going to make sure that we conduct ourselves very professionally. So Mohammed, Azam, welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much.
You are a member of the National Policy Forum for the Northwest and a very well respected member of the community. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the programme.
Wa alaikum salam, thank you very much.
Mohammed Bota, you welcome to the programme.
Assalamu alaikum.
You are Deputy Chair for, is it West Yorkshire?
Yes.
Conservative Party. Thank you for coming to the programme. I know that you're very well known across the community.
Oh my, I think you
and both of you are very, in terms of doing splendid work for the Kashmir cause as well. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's wonderful to see two brothers from different backgrounds together. Today, what I wanted to do in this particular programme is where previously we've had candidates solely from a party, whether that be individual, whether it be Conservative or be Labour. I wanted to bring 2 people together who have your own standing from two different parties. And my argument would be, and I want to bring this as a start of our conversation, is that it seems that the emphasis has perhaps moved away from the 2 main parties and has moved away to another particular party, and that being the far right. What do you have to say here, Mohammed Azam?
Well, I think the issue really is why are we in this situation? we're in this situation because the Tory party and its leaders thought this was a very good thing to do. They will look really great. Let's put, you know,
You mean the referendum?
The referendum. They thought this is great. Let's put it to the people. People are going to say we're not going to go out of Europe, and they're going to stay in. We're going to say, look, we shut our part of our party up. We want to, you know, we want to come out. I'm going to look great for the next 10 years. I'm going to be the leader. I'm going to have a jolly time. I'll be the hero. Great. That's what I'll do.
You're making reference to Cameron, who
I'm talking about David Cameron, who was then the leader and the Prime Minister. Unfortunately, the British public had other ideas, and that didn't happen. He walked away like a chicken, do something and then leave somebody else to clear up the dirt, and the Tory party went through a turmoil, and since then they've not been able to clear the mess. That's why we're in this situation. That's one thing. The second thing is, on the other side, the rise of Jeremy Corbyn and the policies that general public want. Now, the establishment and the media can't stomach that. So you've seen the mainstream media slagging off Jeremy Corbyn, bringing up issues that are non-issues, making news all the time, criticising him for what he is, and trying to make an issue and trying to degrade the Labour Party. And hence the situation there. So that's brought us to the situation where we're at. This mess is created by the Tory party. It needed to be cleared by the Tory party. They've shown they don't have any leadership. They have no way of clearing this mess. The only answers lie with the Labour Party.
Okay, so Harry, obviously you're going to come in here. Lots of things there. We've got the word chicken. Yes, we've got those that can't stomach in terms of Jeremy Corbyn. The mess. Have you Conservatives? Have you created this mess? Are you taking any responsibility for the mess that we're in?
You can rely on my brother Azam to bring everything down to the lowest level possible, right, in politics, and that is certainly not the case. The way things have happened. What we have got, we've got two issues here now. Let's address the first one. First one is we've got, for whatever reason, that it was decided to give the British public the right to decide whether they want to be in Europe or not. Okay, they were given that right. They were given a referendum to decide whether they want to be part of Europe or not. Now, whatever the establishment wanted at the time, which was they put a lot of money behind it in their propagandas to try and keep us in Europe. That failed. Why? Because despite all those millions of pounds poured into their propaganda, the public said, no, we want to be out. Okay? So that's a democratic decision. Now, people are going to turn around and say, well, there was lies told at this and there was buses like this. Have you got no mentality of your own, right? You have to look at the sign and go, well, I'm going to vote for Brexit because there's £350 million on the side of the bus there. That is total and utter garbage. If you think like that, you need to sort of change your mentality a little bit. So that was decided that Britain should leave the European Union. Then there was a triggering of the Article 50. When you trigger Article 50, then you have 2 years from that date to do whatever negotiation you want to do and then leave. We should have left on the 29th of March. Because of the infighting between the establishment people and the public, we have now got a disconnect between the public, which are democratically voted, and then we've got Parliament, who's supposed to represent the public. They are completely detached from them, right? Because they've got a different agenda. Whatever their agenda is, it's nothing to do with the public. So they want to remain in, the public want to be out. If they're representing the people that they elect them, then they should have the same agenda as the public, as far as I'm concerned, not bring up their own. But the lobby of this country, the big business lobby, is very strong, and obviously, people get bought out bought out in a way that to come to their opinions, get opinionated by these people, and so they can swing their opinions in favour of whoever is lobbying the strongest. We've been, as Kashmiris, been lobbying the UK for many years to try and change their policy on Kashmir. So we know how difficult it is. But if you had millions of pounds, I'm sure we can swing a few people to go and change the policy for us tomorrow. So that's where we are, is that we've got a disconnect between the elected and the elector, okay, which is a totally upside down democracy that's been created in this country and which is causing all the problems. Then we've got the Jeremy Corbyns of this world, who under the guise of left are not actually left, but they are on the left of left. I'm not going to go as far as extreme as you like to, but they're on the left of left, which is again not where public would like their Prime Minister to be, because it's normally towards the centre right or centre left. So we got this issue here that they think that Jeremy Corbyn will make a good Prime Minister, and they want to upturn the result of the referendum because they just want another election, right? Thinking that Jeremy Corbyn will win, which is totally far from reality anyway.
So
okay?
why not call for it?
No, because we've had a democratic decision
Harry,
took place.
On that point, I just want to try and pause you there. I'm sure you'll continue to bring in the argument. There was a referendum. Both gentlemen accept there was a referendum. The people voted. This was almost 3 years ago. You talk about rifts within parties and decision-making powers. So whether they were bought out or whether they've changed their mind, the reality is that there hasn't been a clear decision from Parliament in terms of a vote, in terms to move it forward. So there's a problem there, isn't there? Wherever that problem is. But what the question that I want to ask, as just say a member of the public, is that there was a decision made. That decision is about didn't have to be carried forward. It was a consultative, was it not? I'm asking, legal terms. It wasn't legally binding. It was never set out to be legally binding. It was asking the public an opinion. So can I just, on that point, is that correct? Was that right?
Well, of course, the referendum.
Do people know that?
The referendum was an opinion. The public gave an opinion. The party in charge, the party in government, said that is what we will do. We will take that decision. They accepted that. And Parliament as a whole, including the Labour Party, accepted the democratic decision. Yes. And we said, right, we will leave Europe. That's fine. And that is what the people made their mind up. The question then was, on what conditions do we leave Europe? The Labour Party put clear definitions. They said, these are the lines we want, these are the conditions we want, and those are to protect our people. And those were workers' rights, the Irish question, and a number of other things that they wanted to make sure that these were protected. And therefore, with those protections, we will go ahead with this, we will negotiate with the EU. Now, the Tory party, what they did at that moment in time, thought, great, we're going to do negotiations on our own terms. And we will just go to the EU, we will tell them what we want, we'll get it, and we'll walk away with it. Unfortunately, European Parliament doesn't work that way. The European Union doesn't work that way. And when they went, the European Union laid down the rules saying, these are the things that you have to go, and this is how it'll work. So, the first thing they did, they thought, right, we don't have the majority in Parliament, so we can't get our own way. So what we'll do, because the media's on our side, we will call for a general election. And we're going to win loads of seats. So they call a general election. What happens? Labour Party wins more seats, they lose their majority, and it's a reduced majority. Now they're in deep trouble. So what do? They totally ignore other political parties and go and try and do negotiations on their own.
On negotiations, Harry, I want to bring you here because this is one of, whichever way you look at it, in terms of Theresa May came in to take us out of in terms of the European Union, and obviously her responsibility as a Prime Minister was to ensure that the best deal possible was made for the United Kingdom. We all agree. We all agree. Yeah. And Labour would have had a long wish list, and the Conservative, I'm sure, would have had just as long wish list in terms of parliamentarians representing their constituents and in terms of where they want to be. Why is it, Harry, that we still continue to fail to move forward and to agree in Parliament? What's your opinion? I'm sure you haven't got all the answers, but you as a consultant.
Well, the first thing I would have done, when the negotiations started, we triggered Article 50 as a Remainer, as a Brexiteer, as a staunch Brexiteer. I would have gone into Europe with this, that we are leaving the European Union on the 29th of March on WTO orders, which is World Trade Organization rules, which are clearly defined, right? All countries can operate under those rules before you start negotiating free trade agreements, etc., right? We'll be leaving on the 29th of March on WTO rules. Now, what relationship would you like with us? Okay? And throw the ball in their court. And say, like, now you run around and you tell us how you want your relationship with us to be.
It sounds very simple.
No,
Why
that is simple.
Theresa May do that
because she, sadly, I mean, as a leader, I think we had a weak position where Brexit did not mean Brexit, okay? For a very simple reason that she was a Remainer, beforehand. She was a very soft Remainer, and the European Union knew that she was a Remainer. So it was easy to...
Have we remained longer than we should have because Theresa May wants to remain? She doesn't really want to leave? Maybe she's dragging her heels a little bit more?
She's given so much to the Parliament, to Parliament, so I'll bring back the Parliament when I do this, I'll bring it back to Parliament. When Article 50 was triggered and all parties agreed to the Article 50 being triggered, right, they'd given their stamp that on 29th of March we are leaving, deal or no deal. And that's what would have happened.
The Labour Party has never agreed to leave on the 29th of March.
Were Labour Party involved in triggering of the Article 50? Yes, it was. Was there a majority in the European Parliament with the Article 50 being triggered? Yes, it was. Right? Parliament decided that Article 50 will be triggered, and therefore we will leave on the 29th of March.
Mohammed, Azam, do you believe that Harry has made reference to this, and it's there? I think the public are aware that Theresa May herself was a Remainer, and she's been given the task to leave. Do you believe that it is a personal, this is for her, she's finding it difficult, to her conscience or her own decision-making powers? Do you think that has an effect on what's happening?
The problem is, what you've got to realise is we are democratic parties and we follow decisions that are made in a democratic way. We are not dictators, and therefore Theresa May cannot make decisions herself. That's the first thing. The second thing is...
Would it not have been better to have a dictatorship style and to ensure that the
she didn't have to... it's nothing to do with dictatorship.
I'm just
hang on.
Playing the devil's advocate here.
Yes, I know. I know you live.
The issue here is the Tory party triggered, got the referendum, they knew the decision, and then they called for a leadership. So they knew what they were going to go through. They knew Theresa May's position. Why did they elect her? That's the first question. Why did the Tory party elect Theresa May, who was a soft Remainer?
Well, Mohammed, would it have made any difference who the leader of the governing party, who's responsible for ensuring?
Of course.
Would it have made a difference if it was Theresa May or if it had remained?
Well, I think I'd counter that, but it would have a huge difference, right?
Let me answer, if you will, please.
Bring you back in.
The difference would have been made had it been somebody who had the interests of the country at heart. They would have consulted with other political parties and said, right, we're going to sort this out. How are we going to do it? Let's sit down, let's come up with consensus. Then we'll go to Europe, we'll ask what we want.
Okay, Harry, do you believe that it would have made if it had been Cameron who continued?
Cameron could not continue, right? We have to put that into perspective, that Cameron, having campaigned so heavily, put all his weight, all the huge weight of the establishment behind his campaign to remain in the EU, and he failed so badly that he could not sustain that position as a leader.
You bring another person in who's also believes in remaining.
But Theresa May was a softly Remainer, okay? So she didn't make big waves like everybody else to say that I'm a hard Remainer or a harm Brexiteer. She just sort of played a nice, sort of clever card, and we then obviously elected her as a leader, okay, who clearly over 100 times.
Was that a wrong decision?
It was a decision that was made democratically, or that whether it was right or wrong.
It was made by the party.
It was made by the party.
Made that decision.
Okay, it was made democratically. As you said, we are not dictators. You know, we do things according to laws of this country as much as we possibly can. So Theresa May, yes, the enemy knew, right, that she was a Remainer, soft Remainer. So the enemy had an upper hand. And then we had the other parties to come out. They have no idea what negotiations entail. If you show everybody your hand, right, then you've got no negotiations, you've lost. And sadly, the members of Parliament in this House of Commons, they have shouted at the highest, at the loudest voices, saying, we don't want no deal, we don't want no deal, we don't want no deal, we can't leave without no... And the European Union's laughing their heads off. I said, this rabble that's down there, because, well, they're not going to leave with no deal. What are we going to give them? Nothing.
Okay, we're going to go to,
hang on, one second.
Break. I want you to hold that thought. We are going to go to a commercial break. We're going to have a quick break now. So as you can imagine, exactly how I wanted it, we've got two very strong campaigners, very similar in many ways, in the sense that they have the passion to ensure that the public vote and the public opinion does matter. We are going to go to the commercial break and we'll continue our conversation about what is happening within our democracies, within the United Kingdom, when it comes to the European elections, and in particular, the Brexit debate. See you straight after the break. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to UK24 TV. We're doing Ramzan Kareem. We are continuing a very passionate debate. It's quite interesting the fact that these two lovely young men are fasting and still have the passion for politics. So let's go back to the original question. The original question was made reference to the fact that we have two main parties here. And are this debate or this argument or whatever you wish to call it, is it giving way to the far left to come in and to try and take away some of those votes and to change the opinions and minds of our communities? And I want to bring you in, Harry, because you're from Bradford. You understand what it means about culture, communities, faith groups. You also know what it means in terms of riots and protests. You are a retired naval person, so you understand in terms of what nationalism means and what it means to be a proud British man, if I can say that as well. So bringing all those things into the mix, you two are two individuals bickering. We've got a whole nation bickering over this. Are you giving way to the far left? Far right. I was going to correct you on that one. I think well, we've got the far left element as well, which I think it was a Freudian slip. We all know Freudian slip. Yes, I can't be accused of anything today.
Absolutely. I think you were right the first time, but I was going to correct you. So, because the issue that we have, as you rightly say, there are only two main parties in the United Kingdom, and that is the Conservative Party and the Labour Party as the main parties, democratic parties. We have now, because of Brexit and the passions that are involved with the Brexit debate and with it not being delivered when it should have been delivered, we have created a whole wave of hate mongers again, you know, I think it was Britain First and things like that. We had there was another one, ADL, and all these they've been put to sleep for a long time, and that's where they should have stayed. But sadly, for whatever reason, well, not the reason is, but sadly we have now reignited their flames, and these flames, I hope we can smother them as quickly as they have erupted, because otherwise, you know, we'll be going down the wrong road again democratically in this country. I don't want.
How do you accept that the delay itself has caused, has given a space for this kind of hatred?
We've got a Brexit party who's about 5-6 weeks old. You know, they've raised over you know, a couple of £100 million in that, you know, 80-odd thousand or 100-odd thousand members,
but they have got
paying
somebody like Nigel
£25.
Farage,
yes,
who's got a history as a campaigner for Brexit, hasn't he?
Yes,
I don't think that's the truth. I think the truth is he is a corrupt person. He has a lot of bad elements. He comes from the right. He's a banker. He knows how corruption works. It's big businesses that are backing him, and when he's asked those questions, he refuses to answer them.
You can't allege it. You have to allege these things, right? We can't openly sort of.
You
know, there is no. You have got no evidence to.
But
I mean, I've got no qualms with this person, but you can't. You say allegedly. If you say allegedly, are you alleged these allegations?
I mean, this is a personal opinion.
This is what I'm alleging.
This is not a party opinion or.
I don't want to lawsuit against yourself right now.
Asked for Nigel Farage, that, you know, who funds your bodyguards? He refused to answer that. He owes the European Union money because he claimed allowances which he wasn't entitled
That
to.
is not answering the question. That is not answering the question.
What I'm saying is these people who are running these campaigns with huge amounts of finance and with lobbies behind them, they will tell lies, they will mislead, they will do things that will get the public on their side.
The biggest problem that we have at the moment is perhaps not Nigel Farage. The biggest problem at the moment that we perhaps have, and if I may put that to you, is somebody by the name of Tommy.
Tommy and Robinson.
So Nigel Farage may have caused some problems historically, but I would perhaps put it to you that it's not him that's the problem at the moment, it's Tommy. So where has that come from, and how have two major parties allowed this? And let me throw something else in there. On one hand, we have a candidate, Sajjad Karim, a very well-known, respected senior member of the party, standing and a number of years as a member of European Parliament. And then on the other hand, we have somebody, Wajid Khan, again, who has his own standing, who's done his own fair work, and especially when it comes to Kashmir cause. And recently, he's dedicated a lot of his time there. So we have two people who are very well known. Both of them happen to be from a particular heritage. Both of them strong, male, Muslim background. How is it that Tommy seems to be the person that is being spoken about more than them two?
You know, Nigel Farage should have condemned very heavily UKIP. I mean, I look at UKIP now. I was, you know, former member, but I look at UKIP as the extreme. It was a one-issue party to get us out of Europe. It was clear, right? And it was composed of all the different elements of all the various parties. That was UKIP, all right? And but now that issue has been put to bed. We've got Brexit on its way eventually, but Nigel Farage decides to create another party, a Brexit party, rightly because he felt passionate Brexit hasn't been delivered. But then for a leader of UKIP to allow an extreme right-wing person into its folds was a very, very disturbing development. And that should have been condemned through and through and through and through, right? And we should still be condemning it. For people to now look at UKIP as a viable party, other than being an extreme right-wing racist party, I can't give it another name, right? I would never have used that phrase before, but I would now, because they've now clearly demonstrated with the type of membership they've openly allowed in that they are extreme. And one thing I like to say about Tommy Robinson is that this person, he's taking his hatred to places where we've got heavily populated Asian communities like Burnley and Oldham, like here yesterday.
Apparently, Blackburn become an issue today.
Yes, okay. So he's creating this flame, and this flame, people are looking at the flame burning, because otherwise, how is he going to bring attention to himself? And I think we're giving him, I think people should stay at home and don't just leave him there, let him burn, okay? But we're not going to allow that. That's another thing, which was going to give him more publicity, and he's going to become more and more and more famous.
I want to bring it to just a few days ago. Tommy Robinson was in Oldham.
And look at the riots.
And we had people from within Oldham, but then we had quite a large number of people from outside Oldham who came in. There was a clash between individuals and the police, and obviously other people that were campaigning.
But before he comes in, Shanaz, can I just say how that riot in Oldham, the media turned it around in favour of Tommy Robinson. Okay, they're blaming the Asian community rather than this evil person that's come amongst the people.
To some extent, I can see where you're coming from. I want to bring yourself into Azam. You're from Oldham. A lot of the councillors, the phone calls were made. The councillors went in, and all that. People like Councillor Shoaib and other people. Not sure if you got there onto the scene. Actually, tried to calm things down, tried to move some of the people away. Why have we got a situation, Mohammed Azam, when somebody who is inciting racial hatred, the police and other, let's just say, organisations, being the council, other people, are allowing people who incite racial hatred, which is a criminal activity, to come into a town like Oldham? Today we've got the issue in Blackburn, tomorrow there will be an issue in Burnley. And we all pray that everybody is kept safe. Why is it that this is allowed? Is it true democracy?
Let me touch on two things. One is, why have these people, why are we in this position that we're in? Let me answer that question first, then come back to this one. So the issue is, because we've been unable, or the Parliament's been unable to deliver what it promised, it has given rise to this. And people in the Conservative Party, people like Boris Johnson, have racist views, and they those have been displayed, and those have allowed people like Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson to get on back of that and come out with these racist views and make themselves as the heroes.
But they're not members of the Conservative Party, are
they?
These are separate parties.
This is somebody in government. If the government minister is allowed to do that, Joe Public is allowed to do 10 times worse than that. That's the kind of sort of scenario that's set. If a minister is allowed to make racist remarks and get away with it, what's the general public going to do? So that's the sort of thing that we're in. The Tory government has failed not only not to deliver Brexit, it's failed to look after the interest of the general public, it's failed to provide public services, it's failed in every aspect. It's a failed government. So that's one thing why we created this situation. Now the Tommy Robinson bit. Tommy Robinson has, again, similar friends as Nigel Farage. He is being funded, as far as I know, by other people, some outside of this country. And he is there to make sure that these kind of hatred is stirred up, so we create these kind of scenes, and people that are backing him will benefit from that. So he comes into Oldham, and some councillors, a councillor in particular, challenged him and wanted to have a face-to-face discussion with him. Tommy Robinson refused because he knew he has no grounds. The only things he does, he makes remarks that actually get people wound up. He knows how to agitate people, he knows how to do the hate speeches, especially against Muslims. And our young people have a lot to learn. They haven't learned much from 2001 riots, and unfortunately the establishment are still partly racist. They are against the Muslim community, and we don't get the equality that we deserve.
Well, Nazim, how is it that yes, we make reference to democracies, yet we have the law of the land, which does not permit any kind of racial hatred? It is a criminal activity. Would it have been different if there was a Muslim person
Of course.
going around
It's a double standard.
and speaking out
it's
against
double-
Christians. Would that have not been called terrorism?
It's double standard being applied by the institutions, and the government, who should legislate against it, is failing to do that. And that is what's allowing people like Tommy Robinson to come out,
What
incite our
kind of
young
legislation,
Hang on.
gentlemen,
Do
do
you
we
know
need?
these-
Isn't the law clear?
I'm sure the law is very clear. It's
Correct
not
me
been
if I'm wrong,
applied.
isn't the law clear that anybody that incites any kind of racial hatred or openly, we're not talking about people sitting in their front rooms having an opinion or amongst friends having an opinion, we're talking about people going out, inciting racial hatred, speaking against a particular religion, inciting propaganda, winding people up. What kind of legislation do we need?
Legislation is already in place, and I believe it's not been applied to the letter. That's where I think the police and the security services should come in and try and implement what's already been is in place and in.
But isn't that down to people, members of the community, councillors, parliamentarians, to put in a complaint and to ensure that the police are not going to make an opinion on that, are they?
But the police has a right to, if there is a public gathering, the police has a right to go there and make sure the public gathering is a peaceful, because we're allowed to demonstrate in a free country, okay? Freely demonstrate without violence, that is your right. Now, I'm going to come back to that, but I want to sort of take a few issues with Azam trying to tear into the Conservative Party as a failure. Let me tell him what failure is. A failure is a government that leaves a piece of paper on the desk saying there is no money in the coffers, okay? And that was the Chancellor of the Exchequer of the Labour Party in 2010, all right? So failures, that was a failure. We, since coming in 2012, at the time the income tax threshold was £6,500, okay? Since we've been in government, it has now been brought up to £12,500. So you take home £12,500 before you start paying tax. Okay, so that's more money in your pocket. We put more money in people's pocket since we've been in government. There has been the highest level of employment in this country since the 70s, since Brexit even been called. All the doom mongering that people were trying to bring about, this is going to happen, the whole thing's going to collapse, we're going to go into a recession. None of that materialised. We are doing very well indeed, and that's even before Brexit. And
well, the reality is,
that's beside Brexit as well. Okay.
Harry, the reality is in this particular campaign now, within the last few weeks we've seen, none of those things have been really mentioned. The parties may mention them in their own way, that this is what we're about, almost, if I could say, in getting ready for a possible general election. But I want to bring my original point, Harry. My original point is this: the fact that you two main parties, and obviously we've got Liberal Democrats there as well, and there seems to be in recent local elections, there seems to be that they've gained many seats. So let's not rule out the Liberal Democrats either. That the fact that you've got so much bickering going, are you two major parties not responsible for the racial hatred and the inciting and all those opportunities that are given to the far right?
I would have not. I would not have started being party politics. But wherever I meet a Labour person, right, whichever situation it's in, right, they will always bring out party politics. Right, we've come to here to debate what is a very worrying situation that's happening in the British politics, right? And these guys would do nothing but to point score and try to get one over, right? And you're not going to get one over while I'm sitting here, not on the Conservative Party, and that's for sure. We have got a very worrying. Very worrying situation taking place. I think we Conservative and Labour should unite behind this campaign to try and with the strongest voices to condemn what is happening in UK, condemn what's happening in our communities here, where they're sending extreme right-wing people into the communities to do nothing more than create this division and hatred and cause problems, right? So that's what we should be doing, sitting here on these platforms, is condemning what's going on, not fighting between us two, because we democratically, our people will support us, whoever they wish, right? But what we want to do is to stop the people who are watching this program to please don't go out there and do a protest vote. If your English friends out there, speak with them, says don't do a protest vote. There are only two political parties, and that's the Conservative and Labour. So if you want to give your vote, give it to the right place, not to the extreme right-wing parties, and that will send a message home, right?
We are going to go to the break. It just so happens, Harry, I'm sorry, Mohammed Azam, when we come to the break part, Harry's the person speaking. We are going to go to a quick break, and after the break, I want to bring in the importance of the vote itself on the 23rd of this month, which is only 3 days away. So we are going to go to a quick commercial break. The conversation is still flowing. I don't think there's one program or even a week's long of continuous programs that can cover all the issues. But what I hope it will do, we have had a number of people who have sent their comments through. We will see you straight after the break. We'll continue our conversation about Brexit and what the Conservatives and Labours have to say about the vote on the 23rd of May, inshallah.
The Eastern Pavilion Banqueting Hall, comprising 2 beautifully decorated modern guest suites with seating capacity for up to 1,100 guests. An ideal choice for engagements, weddings, Mendi parties, exhibitions and seminars. Supported by the latest sound and video technology, air-conditioned and free Wi-Fi. Contact us today and see how we can make your vision a reality. The Eastern Pavilion Banqueting Hall, located on Featherstall Road South, Oldham. A perfect choice for your perfect day.
Welcome back to UK 24 TV. Our discussions continued with the break, and I'm sure many of you will be continuing to talk about this. Just before the break, if I can bring yourself in now, Mohammed Azam. Harry's obviously given a very sincere and poignant message in terms of keeping people away from the disturbances and God forbid, any further clashes between communities and in terms of the police. Now, I mean, in terms of somebody who's from the community, who's just seen it, I haven't had any information about Blackburn or Burnley yet, in terms of the demonstrations there. What's the general message that people like yourselves are giving to the communities out there?
Well, what we're saying to the general community is they need to stay calm, and if you are easily wound up, don't attend these events, keep away. We have the arguments to beat these people, because these people don't have any arguments whatsoever. As Councillor Shoaib Akhtar demonstrated in the town centre by having a face-to-face chat with Tommy Robinson, who refused to...
I don't think it lasted very long, the conversation.
Because he was losing, and his bodyguards wanted to push him away. And if you look at the whole picture, there was only a few Asians, and his bodyguards were numbering the young people that were there with Shuaib Akhtar. So if he can tackle them, I'm sure we can win every argument everywhere. But the problem is, these people know how to incite hatred, and that's what they do. The law of the land isn't being applied because people, like I said earlier, within government get away with it, and therefore these people think they can get away with it. The police have limited resources, they can't cope with these kind of things, and this is when things break and things get out of hand. We as a community cannot afford this, especially this moment in time, because the media is against our community. We know that. There's no ifs, no buts. The media is definitely against the Muslim community, and we will be tarnished even when we're not our fault. So we've got to be that extra careful that whatever we do, we make sure that we can defeat these people both electorally and at a discussion table. And that is where we need to take the challenge. Now the challenge for us is May the 23rd, this Thursday, will be who wins. Who polls the highest vote. Unfortunately, the way the list system works and the party system works, what will happen, this contest in the Northwest will be between Majid Khan of the Labour Party and Tommy Robinson as the independent, who's the extreme right-wing candidate. If the Labour Party polls something in the region of 32% or more, Majid Khan will be in as an MEP. If the Labour Party fails to deliver that, then Tommy Robinson is more than likely to be one of those people that gets elected.
I mean, a few days ago, we did actually have the opportunity to speak to Wajid Khan. We have invited Sajjad Karim. Unfortunately, he hasn't yet been able to get onto the programme. One of the arguments that has been said is that these two particular parties, and in particular the fact that we have Sajjad Karim as obviously a prominent position there, and in terms of the way that the percentages work, safely speaking, Sajjad Karim will pull through as an MEP, safely speaking. We never know until the last day, but safely speaking, it looks like from the Conservative, as a Conservative candidate, the way it's positioned, that Sajjad Karim will pull through. On the other hand, Wajid is a little bit further down in the list, and the way that currently, in terms of representation and percentages, and depending upon the number of people that come out to vote, as Mohammed Azam has said, that it looks like, we're still speculating, but it looks like that there will be a competition for that particular seat within the Northwest between Tommy Robinson and Wajid Khan. Should it not be, Harry, that somebody like Sajjad Karim, who understands how it works, probably understands it far better than any of us.
Absolutely.
Definitely understands it a lot better mathematically than even Wajid Khan, because he's gone through so many elections. Should he not be saying to people out there that ensure that you vote and you maybe not say vote Labour, but ensure that these are the two particular parties that we need to vote for? Should he not be almost on a softer level be campaigning for Wajid Khan as a Muslim brother? I'm just putting it to you.
Well, I think you've posed a very difficult question here. The one thing I can say very clearly, that there should be no votes going towards Tommy Robinson. It should just be between Wajid Khan and Sajjad Karim that the battle should be, really. And that's what I want to address our viewers out there as well, our listeners, is that please don't fuel the extreme right-wing people with your votes, right? I'm sure people listening to us are Asians anyway, and I can't imagine any of our Asians.
We have a very mixed
majority in the main. I think in the main we've got a mix, and those people who are not of the Asian origin, what I would like to give you this message, which is that, good people, bad people only succeed when good people don't go out and do their deeds, right? Which is what I'm trying to say. If all us good people go out and vote for either the Conservative or the Labour Party, I'd love for you to vote for Sajjad Karim, of course, being a Conservative, then Tommy Robinson will get through. So get out there, do the right thing, do not support the extreme right wings, do not support racism in this country. I served in the Royal Navy for 23 years as a Pakistani Muslim person. So I've been through the system. I've been through the hatred and all that. I've suffered, the lack of promotions, being held down on promotion. I've been all around there, all over there. But I am here as a mature person speaking to you that racism doesn't, it always holds people back, okay? So let's send Tommy Robinson back where he belongs, which is Luton, all right, and get him out of the north here.
I want to bring in the element of what we recently saw within the local elections in terms of independent candidates, and most recently we've seen in terms of a new wave. I think they call Change, or whichever party it is, and it seems that there seems to be a new wave of people. What happens when there's 10 people to vote, for example? Out of those 10, you've got 2 or 3 major parties, let's just say Conservative and Labour, and people who are sure. But those people who are not sure, say you've got 5 or 6 people who are not sure, you've got 2 who are very sure, so you've got 4 votes have gone, you've got 6 people who are left, who are fed up with both of you, who've listened to Harry, who've listened to Mohammed and thought, you know what, I can't be bothered with both of them. Both of them are sitting there suited and booted, and they're talking about their own party, and I'm a bit, Harry's wondering I'm not suited, but you are relatively suited and booted, and who use that vote in a different way. What message do we have for those people who are not part of the main parties, but yet have got a new way? What does that bring into the mix?
I think the message is quite clear. Any vote for a party that's not going to get anything above 8% is a wasted vote. So if you vote for a Change UK who's not going to reach 8%, that's a wasted vote.
But how do you know that, Mohammed?
But this is what I'm saying. So when you look at the turnout last time, 32% turnout, Labour Party managed to get the majority vote behind UKIP, and they both got three seats each. Now, look at the local elections.
Within the Northwest we're talking about.
This is Northwest we're talking about. In the Northwest, if you look at the local elections and the number of votes, let's talk about Oldham, for example. If we look at just take 4 wards, predominantly Asian, Coldhurst, Worneth, Medlock Vale, and say St Mary's. These are 4 wards in Oldham. How was the vote divvied up? And when you look at the overall vote, you'll find Labour Party was way up, maybe 70%. Tory Party was around about, 15%. The others were below that percentage. And that is how it's likely to translate in the national as well. So anybody that's going to be voting for, a party that's not going to poll anywhere near 8% is a wasted vote. They will, in effect, be helping the likes of Tommy Robinson.
Do you agree, Harry? I mean, you're from Yorkshire, you're from Bradford side, and you are deputy chairman in terms of your particular region. In terms of the smaller political parties, and we live in a democracy, and obviously the laws of the land allow people to do that. We've obviously got Green Party, other parties that are involved in that. If that was the case, then wouldn't we just have a 2-party vote system?
I think what the listeners need to be aware of the difference between our voting system in the United Kingdom and when we elect for the European Union, the MEPs. We don't have proportional representation in this country, okay? It's first past the post. But for the European elections, it is proportional representation. And that means that every party that gets a vote gets totaled up, and then the first tier, whoever wins the first one becomes an MEP, and then they'll divide that by 2, and whoever comes the highest, right? And they'll keep on dividing by 2 until all the 6 candidates have been elected.
8 in the Northwest.
Or 8 in Yorkshire. We've got 6 in the Yorkshire, where I'm from. So the more votes you give to an extreme party, there is a good chance that they will get through the net, and that's with your help. So when you do go out there and do a protest vote, please, I beg you to think carefully as to what the outcome will be and what result you.
What about those people
decide?
Who don't come out to vote? I think previously it has been said that perhaps the European elections were not that relevant to people. Maybe prior to Brexit, one argument was that people didn't even know who the MEP was, didn't even know there were an MEP. Perhaps they didn't know the role. But people are educated now.
In my view, people voting for the likes of Change UK or these extreme parties.
Is Change UK an extreme party?
No, like I said. If people voting for Change UK or extreme parties, at least they are voting, they are much better than the person who stays at home. The person who stays at home is actually helping the likes of Tommy Robinson.
Yep.
By staying away, you are helping to elect extreme right wing into the parliament.
So the absent vote?
Absent vote is a vote for Tommy Robinson. So that is why it's very important that all our community, all our listeners, all our electors make sure on the 23rd they go out there and they vote. That's the first thing. Secondly, as a Labour Party activist, obviously I want them to go out there and vote Labour. In this particular election in the North West, of course it's important because the third seat, which is Wajid Khan's seat for the Labour Party, is dependent on us getting quite a higher number. That's why I'm pressing that. That's what happens. Of course, if it's a different scenario somewhere else, then people are free to do, what they want, how to do it. But they've got to look at, is my vote going to be counted? And the answer to that is yes, every single vote will count in the European elections. Whereas in the parliamentary and the local, sometimes it doesn't really matter because if it doesn't get registered because it's first past the post. In this one, the percentage-wise, it matters. So every vote counts. So we need everybody going out there and voting.
Okay, final messages now. We've come to the end of the programme.
Can I just reinforce that?
Yes.
I want to agree. I want to agree with the first point. That everyone should go out and vote because every single vote counts in this because it's proportional representation. I won't agree with the second point, which is vote Conservative, of course. Right, over to you, Shanaz.
Okay. Final question, and I think we'll finish on this. Is that you've already made reference to the fact that 23rd of May people can go out to vote. For those people that, for whatever reason, if they've moved or they're not sure where to vote, is it similar to the local election? Do they go to the same polling booth, or will it be a different system? Yorkshire and obviously.
But they would have got the card,
yep.
A polling card through the post, every single household with everyone's name within that household, and on that card it tells you where your polling station is, which is normally within a few hundred yards of your.
So similar to the local elections.
Yes, exactly. They are similar to the local elections.
Same places normally.
If you voted in the local elections, you will be registered to vote. Yeah. Some people who weren't on the register for local elections but then registered will be able to take part in the European election. However, there's no harm in going to the polling station, giving them your name and address. They will be able to tell you whether you're on the register or not, or check with your local council, they'll be able to tell you that. But one final point that I want to make, and that is to the activists of political parties. And in Oldham's case and in the North West case, I'm making a plea to the Labour Party activists that make sure on Thursday from 5 o'clock in the evening that you go and knock on every door that's likely to have a vote, to make sure they get out and vote, because your efforts in that last few hours are what's going to get the turnout higher. The higher the turnout, the better it will be for both Labour Party and probably the Tory Party, but more importantly, it'll be more important for our community because it will keep out the far right, people like Tommy Robinson. So the higher the turnout, the better, and the activists need to be on the door, getting the vote out from 5 o'clock at least on Thursday, if they're not doing it already.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming in. I didn't know, Harry, if you wanted to say anything at the end. In Yorkshire and Humberside, please vote box number 2, which is the Conservative one, for our two excellent candidates, John Proctor and Amjad Bashir, a very dear friend who's a campaigner on Kashmir as well. So we really would like to have him back in the European Union, fighting for Kashmir as well. Jazakallah khair both for you, and I hope you have a lovely iftar this evening.
Jazakallah, thank you.
Great to see. We've actually got them shaking hands. I thought we were going to have Pakistani style politics, not as much flying around as we thought we might have. So it's wonderful to see that even with having different parties when it comes to ensuring that we look after our communities and ensure that we keep the hatred out and we unite our communities, that we are able to come to one platform at the end of the day, and that is to ensure that we protect our communities. I'm sure those of you that heard in the last couple of days what happened in Oldham will have similar concerns for Blackburn and similar concerns for Burnley. Our message, and I'm sure as the gentleman has said, is that keep your children safe, make sure that young people and older people who may get easily wound up and thrown in the big debate and perhaps can't control their tempers, because obviously we do get emotional and passionate, then the best message would be perhaps to stay away. Of course, we will be covering the next few days, and on Wednesday evening and Thursday we'll continue. And Thursday we hope to be able to bring some of the results later on in the evening, and by Friday morning the results we will be able to get them out to you. As I always say at the end of my programme, please look after yourself, because in looking after yourself we look after each other. Stay blessed, and hopefully I will see you very soon. Assalamu alaikum.